I'm here today with the Alexander Hamilton of the 21st century, Josh Frydenberg, in your office, the centre of our financial, economy. How's it going, Josh?
It's great, Jace. Lovely to be with you, and an end of a long sitting day. But Alexander Hamilton, you must have been watching too many musicals.
I have been, that's quite true, and I'll bore you with some tunes later on. Now, good game's a fast game. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars, may the force be with you.
And also with you, Josh. How have you coped with lockdown? I understand you went into isolation for 2 weeks with 2 other people. Only 2 of you came out. What happened?
They're still looking for my housemate. No, I did share a place with a staff member. We both came up from Melbourne. Tough being away from the family, but thankfully FaceTime allows us to stay in good contact. But it was just work, 2 weeks, exercise bike in the corner, ice creams in the freezer, and plenty of time
That's
watching
what we
Fox
call
footy.
Balance. Exercise, bike and ice cream. All done.
Exercise, bike, ice cream, Fox footy.
Fox footy. There you go. All right. So we got a question here from a Year 8 student on the Northern Beaches. I'll play it for you.
Hello, Mr. Treasurer. My name is Ben. I am 13, in Year 8, at a school in Sydney. I am thinking of a career in engineering. It has been cheaper to make things such as cars and technology overseas. What is the government's plan to ensure that there are jobs in manufacturing and engineering here in Australia when I leave school?
Great question, Ben. And engineering is one of the key vocations of the future. It's obviously plays a key role in our economy. And what we're doing is creating more university places, making it easier to study in those areas where there's going to be great demand for jobs, be it in nursing or in teaching, maths, science, or indeed architecture or engineering. We're also focusing on supporting the manufacturing sector, and our Minister for Industry, Karen Andrews, is a former engineer with experience in the energy sector. And we need to think about manufacturing not just as producing a particular output or product, but actually as a long supply chain. There's product designers, there are of course engineers in the process, there are a whole lot of players that are part of a manufacturing supply chain. And in Australia, whether it's in medical devices or whether it's in highly specialised defence industry, or whether it's in food manufacturing. These are areas where Australia is, I think, playing to its strengths and ensuring that there'll be plenty of jobs in the manufacturing sector for years to come.
So there you go, Ben. Tell your parents the Treasurer agrees with your career choices. Now, Tresh, modern, go into any neo-Marxist pet shop and the parrot's talking about modern monetary theory. What is it, why is it, and why is it such a bad idea?
Well, this is basically the Reserve Bank of Australia buying government bonds to finance our debts. And in terms of that being a good policy, I don't share that view. And also I've seen that the Governor of the Reserve Bank in his public commentary has been sceptical too.
What does he say behind closed doors?
Well, yeah, nothing in front of the camera.
Oh, right.
But it's more about ensuring that there is that distinction between monetary policy and fiscal policy. And I think that's an important distinction to maintain. Obviously, in the COVID era, we are borrowing more money to spend on necessary income support or infrastructure investment that's being brought forward, or other key initiatives to support businesses and families. Ultimately, that money has to be paid back, and it's not a shortcut that the government wants to take down the path of modern monetary theory.
So people like Ben will be probably having to pay that back, is that?
Well, ultimately, when you borrow today, you pay it back tomorrow.
Yeah. All right, next video question.
Good evening, Mr. Frydenberg. My name's Emily Jones and we are students from Covenant Christian School in Year 11 Economics, and we would love to ask you the following question. So clearly this budget deficit will impact our generation heavily. So what efforts have you considered implementing to strengthen our employability and our earning potential in order for us to help pay down this budget deficit?
Well, thanks very much, Emily. Great question. I mean, ultimately, it's all about
These are better questions than the Labor Party asking at question time, right?
by a factor of 10,
By a
right?
factor of 10. I think you're being generous.
But ultimately, it's all about jobs, because if you can help someone get into employment, then you can obviously help them choose a better life for themselves for the future. And for us, getting people back to work after the COVID crisis is going to be critical. And so what we're doing is investing in infrastructure. We are investing in skills and creating more than 340,000 new training places. We're seeking to make it easier for business to do business, and that's streamlining regulation. And in order to do that, sometimes you upset a few parties, but at the end of the day, it's about getting the balance right and ensuring that an employer or a business can spend its time most effectively on growing its business, investing in its business, preparing for its marketplace rather than just filling out forms. And of course, the tax system is vitally important. We've looked to cut taxes at every opportunity, whether it's for personal income tax rates or whether it's also for company tax cuts as well. For small and medium-sized businesses, we've done that. So there's a whole lot of things on the tax, the infrastructure, the skills, and the red tape side of things that are designed to get people back to work and to create the jobs of the future. And it would be remiss of me not to also mention labour market flexibility, because ultimately having more flexible labour markets with employers and employees who can work together to shape a better future for their business, that's a good thing too.
When you think of the Labor Party, what's your favourite Yiddish word?
Chutzpah.
Chutzpah. Okay.
Chutzpah or schmack or whatever you want to say. I'll get myself into trouble with everyone.
Okay. Do you have a personal favourite Yiddish word?
Well, I think chutzpah is not a bad one.
Yeah.
More front than Myers, as they say.
Yeah, that's not true. Very true. All right. Next video question. By the way, kids, if someone called Anthony Albanese rings you and says that he wants help with questions, don't give it to him. So here we go.
Hi, my name is Georgia Broadhead and I go to Northern Beaches Christian School. And my question for you today is, what are the top 3 areas that you think will aid economic recovery post-COVID-19? Thanks.
Well, obviously it's a health crisis. So in order to get to that post-recovery point, we need to get the health situation under control. And it's going pretty well outside of Victoria. Victoria is obviously a real challenge today, but having in place the best possible health systems around the country to deal with future challenges is going to be absolutely critical. The second is to build business confidence, because ultimately 9 out of every 10 jobs, Jason, are in the private sector, and you want to have businesses confident to invest, businesses that are confident to borrow in order to take bets on their future by hiring new people, buying new machinery, building a new factory. So it's critical that we maintain that confidence. And then the third thing that we need to do is remain an open, transparent, forward-looking economy, thinking about the opportunities, particularly in our region. I mean, we are on the doorstep of Asia here in Australia, and there is a growing middle class through countries like Indonesia, Taiwan, Vietnam, obviously in our established business partners like China, Japan and Korea as well. This creates huge opportunities for our exports, not just of goods, but also increasingly of services. So whether it's in education services, tourism, health services, financial services, you know from your own advocacy on behalf, for example, of Australia to become a shining light in the region when it comes to financial services. There are great opportunities here.
There are. That's very true. All right. I've had a lot of calls and emails from people who are concerned about housing affordability. Now, you don't have a report yet, but a lot of research shows that if you want financial security in retirement, owning your own home is a critical element to that. What can we do to get younger people into the housing market so that they can afford to own their own home?
Well, the first thing to say is home ownership has declined for those who in the age bracket from sort of 25 to 44. We've seen that happen over time, and the cost of a new home as a proportion of your income has actually gone up over time as well in recent years. So it's really important that we provide incentives for people to go out there and own their own home, because as you say, it's a stake in the ground that stays with them for the rest of their life. And once you get on that ladder, then you're more often than not going to stay in a home, and that will be good news for you throughout your economic life. So, for example, the Home Builder is one program that we've announced, $25,000 grants. There's a whole range of schemes at the state level, but also we also have another home loan scheme, which is allowing you to get into the market with just 5% deposit, and that's providing good opportunities too.
Fantastic. Is there any last words you have for the boys and girls of the Northern Beaches?
Well, be grateful you got a fantastic local member in Jason Falinski.
Sharks.
And he's a great friend, the chairman of our Coalition Economics Committee. Gives me a hard time on all the legislation, but I tell you,
only when you deserve it, Josh.
That's right.
Only when you deserve it.
And it's not without cause. So thank you, my friend.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Josh. Really appreciate it. And look, I hope you find this as entertaining as we did. Thanks.
Authorised by Jason Falinski, Liberal Party, Narrabeen.